From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Wildfire in Montana this morning. Coming up, what we know about a fire in southern Madison County, this grass fire near Anaconda, and a fire north of White Sulphur Springs. And the latest strain of COVID may be catching up with unvaccinated people here in Montana. Also ahead this morning, a new report on an uptick in cases across the state. Look at that. I feel like the sun just comes up faster every day. That's probably just
that's your imagination.
My crazy imagination, but whatever.
Yeah, that's all right.
Whatever.
And we're talking about wildfire and some smoke. There is haze in our skies.
There is indeed, yeah.
But it's not necessarily from Montana wildfires overall. A lot of the air quality issues coming from Idaho and Oregon this morning. So we'll be talking about that in our main
Not that we don't need to be cautious, but they're all over the place.
They are. Temperatures right now, 40s and 50s, 37 this morning in West Yellowstone. It's a beautiful morning. Chance of a couple of isolated thunder showers this afternoon. You look at the placement on this, maybe Butte, maybe Bozeman, but if you're out toward Dillon, I expect things to remain pretty dry overall. Here's a look at that sunrise. Again, a little haze in our skies, but our temperatures a little cooler as well. Highs into the mid 80s in Bozeman, low 80s in Butte. It's going to be a beautiful day, but a hot weekend ahead. We'll talk more about that, of course, coming up in about 10 minutes.
That just sounds lovely, Matt. Well, there's a new wildfire reported in Madison County this morning. The Goose Fire is just north of Hidden Lake and a little southwest of Cliff Lake near the Montana-Idaho border. Then what we were just talking about, the National Fire Information Center says the fire is about 20 acres in size. So far, there's no word on how the fire is being fought or on the cause of the blaze. There are no road closures right now, but the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest says roads in those areas could be closed at any time because of the blaze. So stay with us for more on that. So far, there's no word if any structures are threatened. Meantime, crews are battling a series of wildfires in the Helena, Lewis and Clark National Forest. They are located on the Belt Creek White Sulphur Ranger District. One of those is the Balsinger Fire located near Belt Park. According to the Cascade County Sheriff's Office, the fire is about 25 acres and there are 6 deputies in the area conducting fire evacuation orders. The Sheriff's Office says the Forest Service is actively fighting the blaze with 1 tanker and 1 helicopter. Also, dry conditions appear to have been a factor in the large grass fire near Anaconda yesterday. Fire crews responded to the fire that burned up several acres in this field off Montana Highway 1 between Opportunity and Anaconda just before 2 o'clock. Now, the westbound lane of the highway was temporarily blocked to traffic. Before firefighters were able to contain that fire, no structures were threatened, but some fencing was damaged. The cause is still under investigation. Well, other headlines right now. This year's 4th of July weekend in Montana looked a lot different than last year. In 2020, the state was just beginning to come out of lockdown, and 2 weeks after the holiday, COVID cases took off. Now, MTN's Janelle Slade brings us a look at the latest numbers and what local healthcare crews are already seeing.
What a difference a year makes, or not. At this point last year, COVID-19 cases in Montana had just started to take off. Today, local experts fear round 2 is on the way.
Undoubtedly, the hardest part has been making phone calls to family members to tell them that their family members are dying.
Even after 5 years in the Billings Clinic ICU, nurse practitioner Lynn Gordy's voice cracks when she talks about the calls she's had to make over the last year and a half, a job that, as of late, is seeing an uptick.
I'm doing it a little less often, but I'm still doing it. So the phone calls don't get easier.
The latest data show Billings hospitals are averaging more than 21 COVID-19 inpatients a day. About a third of those patients are in intensive care. They're coming in younger and getting sicker sooner.
They're not casually ICU patients, right? These are really sick people that come and stay for a long time and have poor outcomes. We've ranged in the last couple weeks anywhere from 30s to 70s. You know, these are all not 70 and 80-year-olds who are dying.
6 Yellowstone County residents died in June, and so far in July, there have already been 3. Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton says with only 45% of the eligible residents vaccinated, the county is now averaging 15 to 16 new positive cases each day.
When you think about that, 16 cases a day in a community our size doesn't seem like many, but then you start doing the math. Right? So 16 cases a day is 100 cases a week, is 5,000 cases a year. This thing is still here. It hasn't gone anywhere.
In fact, Felton says the COVID-19 variants are just getting stronger and will continue to mutate as long as residents refuse to vaccinate. Of the 33 Delta variants detected in Montana, 14 are here in Yellowstone County.
It's much more transmissible. People have gotten really sick with it. It does appear that for all the variants, the current vaccines do a good job of protecting against severe disease, hospitalization, and death. Not 100%, but better certainly than not getting vaccinated.
It's working. I would beg you to get your vaccine. I would encourage people to reach out to someone, maybe your primary care provider, somebody that you trust in healthcare, and get some real knowledge about that vaccine. And if you're on the fence, do it.
So then maybe she can eventually stop making those phone calls. In Billings, Janelle Slade, MTN News.
Now, drug maker Pfizer plans to ask for approval of a third dose of its COVID vaccine. The company says a third shot within 12 months could provide a significant immunity boost and possibly help fight off mutant strains of the disease. Now, the company doctor says early information from a booster study showed a 5 to 10-fold jump in antibody levels compared to their second dose. Pfizer plans to make their request next month. The Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said health agencies need to determine if a booster might be necessary. The agency said any decision on booster shots would happen only when science determines they are needed. Well, 6:37 now. You might think you hit a sour note if you were diagnosed with cancer and had to go through chemotherapy treatment, but that did not stop Luke Heupel from facing the music with grace, completing his freshman year as a trumpet player at MSU. How he did it is impressive, but his attitude is even more inspiring. He says there's a higher power to thank for his strength, and as you're about to hear, his musical gifts. Here's this morning's edition of Positively Montana. Shout to the Lord, recorded during his second round of chemo. You don't need me to tell you Luke Heupel is talented. Just listen.
I really like orchestra type stuff.
Indeed, it was music that put Luke on the radar of MSU faculty long before his senior year at Kalispell. Skills as a musician and composer that would land Luke a scholarship in the School of Music. Everything in Luke's life was moving in harmony until a sudden illness would change the tune.
I got just a little cough. Eventually they did some more tests and found that I had leukemia.
He calls it an unexpected blessing of the COVID pandemic. Thanks to that concern, they caught the cancer early, but there was a long road ahead. He was flown to Denver for 6 months of treatment, including round after round of chemotherapy.
Sometimes you just look back on it and you're like, did that actually happen?
He took with him his faith, a plan to stay on track at MSU, and of course, his trumpet.
Yeah, the trumpet just gave me something to do.
He attended his music classes via Zoom, even during those 5 intense rounds of chemo. Instructor, Dr. Sarah Stonebach.
We'd pull down the big screen and it would be Luke on the screen. Witnessing that was humbling.
She said he always came prepared. Luke managed to find multiple ways to practice in the hospital, in spite of the fact a trumpet isn't exactly quiet.
Yeah, so the trumpet, it's a really loud instrument, but I had this one nurse, and she'd always find spots in the hospital that I could play. Yeah, the coolest one was she got me on top of the helicopter pad.
He was able to attend one pop-up concert on campus at the end of the semester.
Yeah, that was really cool to actually play with other people.
Is there a healing power in music?
Yes, I think so.
Luke reminds us we all have spiritual gifts, and he is thankful for his.
The reason that I was able to put on a smile every day is because is my love for God and all that He's done for me. Even though, I'm going through these bad things, He was with me the whole time. Even when I thought my world was falling apart, without my faith in Him, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Luke, one of the most inspiring people I have ever met. He remains healthy now and looks forward to completing his sophomore year on campus at MSU. Well, coming up here on Montana This Morning, you probably noticed this: grocery store prices heading up. So how are grocery stores responding, and where will it end? We'll let you know after the break, but first, here's a look at what's happening at 7 on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, Pfizer reveals it's developing a booster shot to protect against COVID variants. We'll talk to Dr. David Agus about it and why the CDC and FDA say not so fast. Also, the billionaire space race heats up. We'll have a preview of Richard Branson's first flight with Virgin Galactic and how he hopes to beat Jeff Bezos to the edge of space. And 14-year-old Scripps National Spelling Bee champion Zaila Avantgarde joins CBS This Morning to discuss her historic win and why spelling is only her side hobby. We'll see you at 7.